Hope springs eternal disappointment for 3 reasons. The first reason is because when we have hope, we have expectations. And when we have expectations, we have a desire for control. When we expect a situation to turn out the way we hope, we put a will on a situation where our will has absolutely no place to be, nor any right to be. When we put hope, expectations on people, we act out of a desire to control how they think, act, and speak. And we have absolutely no right to do that, because to do that is to deprive people from their free will. And when we act like that, we do not act out of unconditional love. Unconditional love allows everyone and everything to act, think, speak, or have any kind of interaction with this 3D world of ours the way they want to act, speak, and think. There is only a caveat to this, is that when anybody's action puts you in a situation of physical harm, then that is not unconditional love. But aside from that, unconditional love lets everyone live the life they want to live. Since we are unconditional love, we have this power within us to know exactly what is good for us, provided that we do not listen to our ego, which never has our best interest at heart, and we, on some level, remember who we are. I'm not talking about reaching spiritual awakening right away and then all of a sudden you have an undeniable remembrance of who you are. But even if you embarked upon your spiritual journey just a little bit, you already have an inkling that you are more than what you thought you were. And provided that we have that within us, and provided that everything we say, think, and act is guided by unconditional love, then we are free to do whatever we want. But that power, if you will, stops at us. We cannot tell anyone how to live their life. That would fall into the territory of dictatorship. And nothing good can come out of a dictatorship, or a dictator for that matter. And when we have hopes for people, we, whether we realize it or not, have expectations, therefore we want to control a side of their life, if not the entirety of their life. And that is not done out of unconditional love. The reason number 2 as to why hope springs eternal disappointment is because expectations are never met. Even when someone does what we tell them to do, you can bet your bottom dollar that the final result will never be 100% like what you expected it to be. And some people say, but hope is harmless, right? True. But hope is the first step towards expectations, which is the first step towards a desire for control. Hope is a slippery slope, and I know that in our Western culture we put hope on a pedestal. Hence the expression, hope springs eternal, which I slightly amended with the title of this video, which is Hope Springs Eternal Disappointment. Hope is not as good as what you were told it was, because of the third and final reason. And that is, Hope makes you live in the future and not the present. When you have hopes for people, or hopes for yourself, or hopes for an event or circumstance, or whatever the case may be, you picture them in your mind's eye, but that takes place in the future. And the problem with that is that the future is always the future. And when the future comes to be, it becomes the present. And the present is the only thing you have in your life. It's the only moment you can do something. You can actually act upon your life. The past is the past and should be there as a teacher, meaning that the past is full of lessons that you need to learn and apply to your life, but then you live it there. Because if you live in the past, you condemn yourself to regrets. And as I said, the future is the future, and when the future becomes the present, it is by definition the present, therefore it's not the future anymore. And if you live in the future with hopes, you condemn yourself with having anxiety, fears as to what might come to pass. And of course, hope is led by ego. Again, I know people might say, but hope is a good thing, right? No. Hope is not a good thing because hope is led by the ego. And as I said, hope is the first step towards expectation and the desire for control. When you want to plant a seed in your garden, you go in your garden and you focus entirely on the present. You weed out your garden. You dig a hole, you put a beautiful seed in the hole, you put the dirt back in the hole, then you water the hole, and then you let nature take the lead. You do not have to hope for the seed to sprout into a beautiful plant if the business of planting a seed was done correctly. And the business of planting a seed can only be done in the present, where hopes have no place, no existence. When you focus only on the present, on the now, you do everything you can in order for a task to bear fruit, pun intended. But once you have done the task correctly, you just let it go. Because if you dwell on it, then you enter the domain of the future. And the domain of the future, it is inhabited, if you will, with hopes, fears, anxiety of what could happen. But if you stay present, fully present, then you remove that from your life. You remove fears, anxiety, stress, because those three things only live in the future. But the only thing you have is the present. The only moment that you have to make your life a beautiful life is the present. You learn from the past, you have goals for the future, but don't have hopes of achieving them if in the present you did exactly what you needed to do to achieve those goals. And even if you do not reach your goals when the future becomes the present, it is a lesson that you learn, and then again, you do it again, you better the process, if you will, and this time it will be a success. But it will always be in the present. So that is why hope brings eternal disappointment. Because hopes makes you live in the future when all you have is the present. Hopes gives you expectations, and expectations are never met. And hope and expectations make you want to control things and people. And when you do that, you do not act out of unconditional love. Therefore, you cannot be in alignment with who you are, because who you are is unconditional love.